Hello, everyone, and welcome to a late night Recipe for Reality live stream. Zach and I, right before I press record, we both kind of said we have no idea what's going to happen this week. But isn't that great? Doesn't that make for fun TV, Zach?
Listen, it's good because it means that the game is finally not really predictable, which is awesome. It's scary because it means that either of us can pull ahead or really fall behind in a safety ranking. So
Yeah. A very weird week. Obviously, one of our top winner picks, kind of that we've been kind of like heralding
crazy,
all season,
crazy.
goes out. Jem, I had her at 4. Zach had her at 5. So Zach takes another point over me. So he got Randon 3 spots lower than me. He got Jem 1 spot lower. So Zach is currently leading 60-56 in our game. But I say this all with such a sad tone because Jem, man, like she was playing. In my opinion, I thought she was playing a very good game. I think in retrospect, now seeing how it played out, maybe that whole rehiding the beware advantage only to lead them to dig for nothing was honestly the worst move she made. Just because I think it kind of made everyone think Tim had the idol in where they didn't want to vote for Tim to where they went for Jem. And I really think if they thought Jem had the idol, they would either split the votes and Jem would know to play her idol, or they would have just voted for Tim because Tim didn't have an idol. So I think inadvertently her idol and not telling anyone and putting the sus on Tim actually saved Tim, because we saw Tim wasn't even part of the vote. It was Ben and Jem, and ultimately Charlie and Maria felt closer to Ben, which also was a little shocking considering we had seen this whole thing about the Charlie's Angels. But I think really Charlie got his way because he was closer to Ben than Jem. But what were your thoughts on this? This was a kind of crazy week, also because we actually saw another tribe go to tribal, which was another thing that was so wild.
That's the Achilles heel of never going to tribal, right? You never go to tribal, so you never really have to play. And then the minute that you have to start playing, all of those silly little things that you do, hiding the beware advantage, pinning a vote on, or pinning a, pinning a, potential advantage on somebody else, when in reality, it's actually you. Like those are the things that maybe that's a really great setup if you are anticipating probably going to tribal in the next, if you were anticipating going to tribal that night, maybe that's a really great time to start kind of setting up those pieces so that you can make sure that, things are going to fall the way that you want them to fall. But what we see, it's if you don't have to play really, really hard, maybe don't.
Yeah.
Maybe set yourself up a little bit smarter because Jem's a great player from what we saw, but the problem is we saw her play a lot of. I think in retrospect, Jem seemed like such a great player, and this isn't to say that she's not, but she seemed like such a great player because everybody else didn't feel like they needed to play just yet.
Yeah.
Right. And then when push comes to shove and they really need to start being able to play, Charlie and Hunter being, or not Charlie and Hunter, Charlie and
Tim, Ben, Maria.
Charlie and Ben being able to pull in Maria to kind of, really set her apart from maybe not such a great decision for her moving forward, and being able to kind of pull her, pull her away from possibly working with Jem in the future, so much so that she even uses her extra vote. I think it's I'm interested now what happens because we haven't really seen the fallout yet. So we're going to see a lot of the fallout, and we're going to see kind of where people's heads are at and how they're thinking and how they're feeling. But
yeah, what do you feel about this extra vote play? Because I think a lot of people are like saying, why would you use it? You didn't need to, you didn't need to, you didn't need to. But I have a few reasons why I think it was a valid thing to do. But what are your thoughts? Do you think, because she also wrote 2 different names on, she wrote one that said Jem, one that said Jamila in cursive. So she was very clearly not trying to advertise that she was playing it. But like, what are your thoughts on this extra vote play? Do you think this was a bad play? Do you think this was too early of a play? Or do you think this worked out? Because I have my reasons, but I'd love to hear yours.
I honestly think it depends on what she does next because listen, it could be a bad play and it could be a good play. It's really just what she does with, it's how you utilize it. I could see one angle. I mean, Ben doesn't have a vote. She doesn't want Ben going home over Jem. So she ensures that it's either going to tie or, or that she's going to have the extra pull to make sure that Jem does go home because she's extra threatened. I can see why it would be a bad move because if you really try, it does show a lack of trust for the people that you're working with, just in case they're trying to pull something over. But what I'll say is when we went down from this is 13 now we're at.
We're at 13, yes, we had
So
4.
when you're at the like 5th vote of the season and you've never been to tribal and you've spent X amount of days with these people, like you don't know if they're pulling one over on you at this point in the game because you've never had. This is, I mean, again, Dylan, if we're going to use our like fun little online community, when you never, that's one of the most popular tribal questions, right? Oh, you know, how are you feeling? This is your first time. I think you know this because the last game that you played where I hosted you in, and the last game that I played, or the last game where I was in a final tribal, I don't think I went to tribal until like the 5th or 6th round. So like you're working with people, but you know, you could say a lot of things to people and it's very nice and words are sweet up until like push comes to shove and you need to know if you're actually the person within their plans. So from my standpoint, it's really how Maria kind of bounces back and what she, you know, she comes clean and she says it right away, then maybe it'll be a good move. Maybe it'll be a really bad move. But if she tries to utilize it as like, hey, listen, like we don't know where that other gem vote really came from, and you know, I correct me if I'm wrong, who knows about her extra, who knew about her extra votes? Did anyone know about
everyone in her tribe knew about her extra vote, knew that she had an extra vote because of the journey with Tevin and Jelinski. I don't know yet who knows that she played it. That's the question.
Right. So that's the other big thing is that it's really just a matter of like, is she going to try and pin it on someone? Is she going to try it? Who's she going to try and talk to? Is it to build trust with Ben? Like, hey, I really didn't want you to go, so I made sure that you didn't. Yeah. It's really great to have going forward.
And there's a good chance because she voted with Charlie, Tim, and Ben, the guys, there's a good chance they all knew she was going to use it. Here's the 3 reasons why I think using it is not necessarily a problem. The one problem is that now you don't have it and you didn't need to play it because Jem would have gone home 3-2 regardless. Because actually it would have been 4-2, right? Yeah, because no, Ben didn't have a vote, so 3-2. Tim did have a vote. Now, here's the thing. 1, Jem went home with an idol, so that really could show that Maria just wanted to play it if she could. Kind of like the thing where, yes, it's your first tribal, but it's your first tribal. So, honestly, if you have something, play it. That's kind of the philosophy that Jem preseason said she was going to use. She said, if I get an idol, I'm playing it the first chance I get. And she didn't do it, and she went home because of an idol. It's one of the most ironic preseason to current season, like
talking about how she doesn't want to go home with an idol in her pocket and then walks out with an idol in her pocket.
She's the first person to do that this season. And then so Maria, it could have just been like, you have it, play it. You know, it's one of those things where it's not really that much of a power because nowadays with the 3 tribe format and with so many switching numbers every merge and people losing votes, gaining votes, an extra vote really doesn't make a difference in a lot of circumstances unless it is a 3-3 deadlock and you can pull it over. Like if it was going to be girls versus guys and everyone had a vote and she used her 4th vote to go 4-3, that would be different. But she was so tight with Charlie, it wasn't ever going to be girls guys. And then the reason too why I think it's okay, you now don't have it at the merge. So now anyone who's like, Maria's a threat because she has an extra vote, she doesn't anymore. So now she is much of a threat because as soon as you have something, you're a threat. Even though Tevin now has an extra vote, I think Tevin's more of a threat than Maria now because he has an extra vote. You know what I'm saying?
And there's always the idea of playing something incorrectly because when you play things incorrect, when you have an advantage, having an advantage is great. You are automatically more of a threat when you have an advantage. The problem is if you play an advantage correctly, you become even more of a threat because you showcase your knowledge of the game. When you play something incorrectly, you instantly lower your threat level because people do not see you as a means. People do not see you as an automatic threat to their game, right?
People are going to see this and say, "Oh, Maria didn't even need to play her extra vote. Go, I'll bring her along." Rather than if she plays it successfully and does break a tie of some sort, or if Jem plays an idol, that makes you a threat. Yeah, for sure.
Well, and especially like she plays it, Jem plays the idol. The first thing that happens is Maria can possibly go to Jem and be like, oh, well, like, I got bullied into playing my extra vote, like, or it was going to be me on there. Like, there's a million and one ways that this could go. Well, I don't necessarily think it's a bad move. I think, if anything, it's a good cover your ass sort of move because, again, it's the first, like you said, it's your first time at Tribal. You have no idea what could happen. Think of it in the worst case scenario. There are 7 people on that. 7 people, yeah?
It was 6. Yeah.
So there's 6 people on that tribe. 1 person can't vote. 2 people vote for Maria.
Yeah.
She and 1 other person vote for vote for Jem. She could be, and let's say that like randomly, like Tim votes for Ben to throw her off the case. All she needs to do is she's making sure I'm not going home tonight.
Right.
Like that's the idea.
And you kind of teased the third reason I was going to bring up as to why I think it's the best move, and this is why I think it's like legitimately a good move. Ben said that he had a vote. He did not. He lied. But also, Tim just came back from a journey saying he had a vote. The thing is, one of them was lying. What if both of them are lying and both of them don't have a vote? Then, if you don't play your extra vote and Mariah and Jem vote for Ben and Charlie and Maria vote for Jem, that's a 2-2. So in her mind, if Tim and Ben are lying, which Ben was, but if Tim is also lying and they don't have a vote,
she has to control the vote.
Then if she uses her extra votes 3-2. So here's the thing. I think she played it well for that reason, because if Tim lost a vote, which he didn't, but if he did, then she would have gone to a deadlock tie, and there's a chance if they draw rocks that she goes. And I think that's the thing, because if they were to draw rocks, Jem and Ben would be safe, and Charlie, Maria, and Tim would draw rocks, and Mariah. And that's 3 of her allies. So I think in her mind, if Tim is lying to her, if Ben is lying to her, then she knows, well, at least myself and Charlie will still have 3 votes to there too. And I really think that's why she played it. Now, the thing is, if Ben and Tim were lying to her, then I think they would have shown their disloyalty, which Ben did lie. But now that she played that extra vote, there's a chance that she just knew Ben's vote was in there. They didn't need to read his vote. Ben is probably the safest one here, getting out of it cleanest, right? Because Ben could just say, oh, Jeff, my vote was the next one in the urn. Jeff didn't pull it out. But if other people are like, oh, you lost, if the other people on his journey, like Liz says, oh, didn't you lose your vote? He can be like, well, Maria covered me. Like, I really think he's covered because no one knows that he lost his vote. Right. He still doesn't have to tell people he lost his vote because there were still enough votes in the urn. And I think that's really cool, too, for Ben. I think Ben is playing one of the peak social games we've seen of this new era. And I really do think he could be an underrated sleeper winner pick only because we get a little bit of talking this episode about how strong of a social threat Ben is. And this is around the same point that people were saying, oh, we got to get D out because she's going to win if she gets to the end. And they never took that shot. And I think this could be a similar situation where if you don't take that shot at Ben, and we heard this a little bit with Kenzie too. I think Ben and Kenzie are 2 people that everyone's hyping up as these social threats that if they get to the end, I could see one of them winning. And I think that'd be really, really cool.
I agree.
Yeah.
Nothing super big to add to that. I'm currently rewatching the preview to like get my
Oh, well, the preview is so tough too, because
preview's impossible. I have no idea.
Merge. It's every merge preview. It's always this name, this name, this name. They always throw out so many different names. And last year was interesting because they all settled on Caleb. It was a unanimous vote, but Caleb used his thing, and J Maya went home, which then kind of can segue us to our rankings because I think it's important to talk about with this merge vote. Usually, the person who goes home at this point is someone who is a little under-edited, but still feels like a big enough presence, but also feels like an outlier. I mean, look at who's been going home. Sydney went home at this point from 41. This was when, what's her name, from season, Lydia from 42 went out. This is where Ellie, Gabler's biggest enemy, went out of 43. This is where Josh, Jam Jam's biggest enemy, went out of 44. And then last season was where they tried to get out Caleb, and then it ended up being J Maya. So it feels like the common thread between all 5 of them is that none of them were in a power spot. I feel like Sydney was someone who was expendable. Ellie was someone who Gabler wanted out. Josh was someone who was on the outs already. J Maya wasn't really on the end. So is the question, should we just assume by the edit nowadays that the players who are a little less edited and kind of on the outs are in danger, or do you think we're going to see something different this time?
I don't know. I don't know. Because again, I'm looking at my rankings and I'm looking at my rankings from last round. I'm looking at my rankings that I have right now, and I'm almost tempted to just keep them how they are because I don't know a better option, if that makes sense. I think only one person has sort of moved themselves around. A couple people are down closer to the bottom now, but even still, it just feels. I don't know. I don't know where to land.
Yeah. And the last thing to think about before these rankings is we see Q, Hunter, and Tim, your 3 boys from your fantasy team, which I'll just pull up now because I took a
look at this
another big beating.
Keep it there. Keep it there.
Man. I'm not in last, but looking at who's
10-point lead,
who's left, I have the social king and the social outcast on my tribe. So I don't know. I might be losing another this week, but the important thing to note is that your 3 guys went on a journey, and we saw a little bit of Big Brother come out this week. Because Q says,
they took out. They took out.
So Q basically proposes, hey, why don't we each pull in a number 1, and then the 6 of us run the merge? And honestly, In a game where you're not losing votes and immunities are not a thing and the game is so unpredictable, I think that could work. The problem is that going to work in Survivor in the new era?
Well, and
Because here's who everyone wants to bring. Q wants to bring in Tiff, which already is a little nerve-wracking because there's only 3 of them. So
yeah,
if you're bringing in Tiff, you're
you're
ostracizing
leaving out
Kenzie.
Kenzie.
Tim wants to pull in Maria, who, as we see, is very close with Charlie and assumedly Ben as well. And she's still tight with Mariah, possibly. We don't know if Mariah's going to be pissed off.
Is
And then you have
Mariah
Hunter,
playing
who
a
wants to pull in Tevin, who's also kind of a social butterfly. So the only issue with this is that I think for these 3 guys, this strategy makes a lot of sense. The problem is the people they want to pull in are social butterflies.
Right.
Tiffany has a good relationship with Kenzie. Tevin has a good relationship with Soda and with Liz. And probably at this point, probably has some sort of connection to Venus, even though we're not seeing it. And then Maria has connections with everyone. So do you think this 6 is sustainable to the end? Or do you think this is going to be kind of one of those, it dominates the next few votes and then that's it? Or do you think these 3 players we're going to see everything backfire on these 3 and it becomes, I know you didn't watch the season, but Karamoan, where Malcolm, Reynolds, and Eddie were just 3 guys sitting on the chopping block every week and had to play idols for one another and had to win immunities, and like we're kind of the 3 amigos against everyone else. How do you think this shapes up?
I don't know. I think it really depends on how this first merge vote goes, because if this goes in such a way that they really can make it work, if they're like, hey, listen, if it's really going to depend on each of their individual abilities, because here's the other thing, right? Hunter doesn't have a vote this next round.
True.
So,
yes. I mean, my guess is that by the end of the episode, he'll get his idol, because the whole thing is that his tribe needed to lose for him to get the idol. But the problem is with the merging, we don't know what the rules are now. And this was kind of what they teased with Jem, which is why I thought Jem was going to make the merge. But it said that if you don't lose before the merge, more information will be given to you then. So I guess Hunter will still have an opportunity to get his idol and get his vote back. But if he doesn't find an idol in this episode for some reason, he doesn't have a vote.
Right. He doesn't. If Hunter doesn't have a vote, it's going to be very hard to pull people in to like convince that, because at that point you are trying to play. You're trying to play 2 different games.
You're so right. He lost that challenge, so he doesn't have a. Okay, I thought you were talking about his because. Okay, so Hunter's lost 2 votes.
He's also got the issue with the idol, which is why he's both hot. Like that's what. See what I mean? Like
so
it's hard.
So
both high up for me, but also low because. He does not have his vote. Also, that challenge was stupid.
Okay, well, let's talk about it. So I said in the description of the video, I said this is the easiest challenge in Survivor history. But for you, it
would not be. It's actually incorrect, Dylan. That is not. It's the easiest Survivor super fan challenge in Survivor history.
But here's the thing: if you were going on, but if you were going on Survivor, right, and you have in your quarantine Paramount Plus is your savior. Right. They give you Paramount Plus in quarantine for anyone who didn't know. They get to watch anything that's on Paramount Plus. You have, let's say, 3 months to prepare. Now, I'm not saying you got to watch every episode, but you don't think you would at least buy the Wikipedia and buy Paramount Plus, at least get familiar with what season comes when?
No. Here's why. It's never been a, to my knowledge, right? And this is sort of like Big Brother too. If it's not an all-star season, I am not concerned with prior Survivor knowledge. I might be concerned with player knowledge, like knowing who like players' games play and who I want to play like. But if I'm not a Survivor, like it's the idea.
What's BB20? You can tell me who's on BB20, right?
Well, yeah, I can tell you who's on BB20.
Okay, so that's my thing though. Is like you wouldn't be able to say like, oh, who's on Survivor Guatemala, that's Steph and Bobby John type deal.
Yeah, but knowing like logos is not great. Like,
right, but I feel like if you see the name, because the logo had the name of the season in it, so if you can correlate the name of the season to some players on it, I feel like you could work your way through. Just like, I mean, obviously you can't do it Big Brother because every Big Brother season has the number, so it's easy. But it's one of those things where I feel like, I mean, I don't know, maybe
I don't love it. I think it's a little too gimmicky for me. It's just like it feels very much like. I don't like when a show rewards this. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I guess I'm 50-50. I wouldn't, if I was a super fan, I'd love being rewarded for it. It just so happens that you get one of the only people who has is not the super fan knowledge. Like, right. It just,
well, he still got 8 out of 20. So like he knew, I think the problem is like, the big seasons, like you said, like the All-Star seasons, he's probably like, I know Heroes vs. Villains is 20. I know winners at war is 40, but like it's the thing where it's like, oh, okay, is Guatemala before Panama or after? Because it's 11 and 12, and I get why that could be hard. My only thing is though, if you have the time to prep to go on
Right.
Survivor, I feel like you just kind of learn the seasons by meiosis. Like if I were to give you if I were to give you the 5 new era winners, would you think you'd be able to put them in the order in which they won?
Yeah, probably, but
Right,
like
but
that's
yeah,
because they're like they're so fresh. Like
okay,
it's so like
yeah,
if you gave me I couldn't give you like I couldn't give you the first. I love Big Brother. I couldn't give you the first 10 winners. I could give you I could probably give you like I can give you Giesling, I can give you Kirby, I can give you Boogie, uh Giesling, Boogie, Kirby, Donato, Evil Dick, I guess.
yeah,
Who won All Stars? Boogie.
Boogie.
Boogie won All Stars. I was right.
I
See,
guess
like,
it
but then
must just
like
be
I
on
get,
how
and then it
brains
gets
work. Because
muddy.
I could tell you even the Big Brother winners in order, but I think it's also because that's the stuff I kind of that sticks with me. Whereas
Right.
I couldn't tell you like on Big Brother when they do the questions like where it's like days put the
Oh
days in order or whatever. But that's another thing too. Like that those challenges, everyone's like, oh, they're such idiots because they've been in the house, they've been thinking about each day since they've
no.
been in there. I think that's my whole thing is if you're in quarantine, you have only Paramount Plus. Like by sitting with it and just going through all the
Right.
seasons, I feel like I would eventually, if I didn't know, I would probably know by then. And I think you would too. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. But I
Yeah.
just want to
I
say
mean,
really quick because Carly is in the chat. Hello, Carly. But
hello,
Carly actually
Carly.
quizzed me. Carly and Matt. Carly pulled up 20 winners from Survivor, and I put them in order, and I was correct in a minute 26 seconds.
That's
But
crazy.
that's the thing is I think there are people who are like that, but then there are other people who aren't. And I don't think Hunter's not a fan. That's the thing is I just think
No,
that's not something he
you can
remembers.
be a fan.
Yeah,
You can be a fan and still not have the ability to do that because it's not really a fan thing. I think it's just, and maybe it's also like in Survivor, you really plan for like a certain subset of comps, especially these like journey comps. But I mean, again, like I think now the beauty of it is anyone who's looking to go on Survivor will prepare themselves more because they
yeah,
see that this comp exists. Like I think being like the first of this kind of comp is very difficult because how
right.
were you ever supposed to prepare for that?
Yeah, the last time they did anything like this was Survivor 16 Micronesia, and it wasn't ordering the seasons. It was they gave a moment, and you had to guess what season it was from. But
Right,
that season was fans versus favorites, so it was like you
right.
have people who played the game
So
and fans. Yeah, yeah,
right, that, and I think that's the other thing is that like look at it like this, like Austin and Ingrid, right? They run an org, they LCA, a consistent thing every season is trivia on both the season and just LCA in general. There is a Wikipedia page for it. You should go check it out. There's a Wikipedia page. That when the season begins, like you should start looking up some season trivia because it's always a part of it.
right.
Knowing that it's a part of it, you can prepare yourself for it, right?
Mhm.
But if they just randomly were like, list the winners of Survivor Game On because it's another like
I
people,
honestly couldn't tell you, so
like
I
people
can
could
tell
have
you mine.
you can tell you yours. You should be able
Anna
to tell me
and
season 8.
Haley.
Oh, from LCA. Yes. See,
Wait,
like that's
what
the
are you
thing is
talking
that
about?
like, oh, I thought I was saying
Oh, Game On.
if
Yeah,
they randomly were like name the Survivor Game On winners, like how are you supposed to know that? But it's another
yeah, okay.
Survivor seat.
Yeah,
It's just one of
yeah,
those things where like once the precedent is set, now it will be a possibility for everybody, for people seasons from now to be able to kind of like watch and prepare themselves. It's just a weird thing to do as a challenge to if it
right.
was for immunity, it's different. But because it was a journey challenge, I was like,
I
this is
thought
kind of
I
cheap.
would think the opposite. I think if it's immunity, then it's like you're clearly giving a leg up to the super fans. But if it's the
Yeah.
journey, it's like they even prefaced it with who knows, like who. Wasn't it like who's the biggest fan or whatever? And then Tim was like, "Well, if you want to go, Hunter, you go." And it was really because Tim just wanted his vote back, not because he didn't think he was
Right.
the biggest fan. Because I think Tim probably, I don't know, just by the way he was talking, he might have gotten it. But like, I see what you mean now. Like, it is one of those things where unless you're really paying attention to it, and the thing is, like, I watch through Survivor every year just because I always have it on my
Right.
TV when I'm cooking, when I'm doing this, that. So like, I just remember the order of things, and a lot of it is just remembering the events of what happened. That's kind of what Hunter was doing. He was like, well, Token Teens was the one where Tyson was doing this, and Korong's the one where Beast Boy Cowboy gets taken out by the ambulance or whatever. So
Right.
it's one of those things where I think it really just depends on the person. But for me, this was one of those challenges where I was so excited and I was just so hyped for. I felt like the Yanu tribe when I was watching this. I was like crying. I was like, finally a challenge I could beat Hunter at, Yeah. Am I the only one that cried when Yanu finally won immunity? Yes.
No.
No, you're not the only one.
No,
Yeah,
you're
but
not,
yes, I did.
Harley. You are not.
That was a really awesome moment, and the slow mo to see them winning was also great because on season 25 Philippines they did the slow mo and they lost the Mat Singh tribe, so they did the slow mo and
They
everyone
did
was
the same
like, "Oh my
thing
god,
with
they're gonna do it."
JD.
Yeah, yes, JD with the
They did the slow mo and he lost.
Yeah, so it's really refreshing to see it actually pay off. But let's get into these rankings so we can talk about it a little bit more because I think this is the craziest week because it's the Mergatory. Because also half these people are going to be safe because of the twist, because half of them are going to earn the merge. So at number one, strictly because, and I know he lost his vote by doing the easiest challenge ever, but because here's the thing: if he gets the idol, even if he loses a vote, it doesn't matter. And also, if they're splitting in half, I'm likely to believe I'm likened to believe that Hunter's side is going to win whatever team he's on, unless he's with literally like 6 really weak people. So I'm putting Hunter at 1, even though now that you mentioned that he did lose his vote, I do feel a little more nervous. But the thing is, they're going to target Hunter the first chance they get. The only thing is, I think he's going to be safe from immunity this week. And even if he doesn't, I think he's going to find that idol. But yeah, I forgot he lost a vote. You're right. Because the whole time I was like, no, he's going to get it back with the idol, just like Jem did, just like Tiffany did. But then I'm like, no, he actually lost his vote on the journey. I forgot.
Speaking of Tiffany, number one, she's been a number one.
Number two.
She's been a number one for me. Well, and Hunter's number 2. I couldn't take him off number 2. I really I think that Tiffany and Hunter are situated the best by far in going into this merge. I mean, Tiffany still has an idol. Hunter is probably going to get his idol, even with his vote gone. I just think they are situated so well. People are connected to them. They are not the first people that everyone is going to look at. I mean, Hunter also has just such a high win equity with his with challenges. He beasts through every single challenge that he does. It is going to be very hard to beat him. My one worry about placing Hunter so high, but you have him one higher, so I'm okay. My one worry with placing Hunter so high is, do they take him out the first opportunity that they see? This is one of those things where, especially because he doesn't have a vote, I do think that he is probably the most likely to be able to pull off what Q is talking about in this cookout style. Let's put 3 together that each has 1. That gives us 6. That gives us majority. I think he's probably the most likely to be able to help it happen in some sort of actual form. So I'm less nervous about him, but I think that Tiffany has this idol, like you said, it's not like an expire sort of deal. It's let's see what happens when you get to them. If you don't use this by merge further, it's like one of those things where Tiffany has a world of possibilities. She has Kenzie. She has Q. If Q's plan doesn't work, she's got Kenzie to fall back on, and I think that actually is way more of a highlight for her. It's probably going to be easier to fall back on Kenzie than it is to fall back on Q, because Q probably goes home a lot sooner than Kenzie does if they don't fall for this kind of Q cookout sort of idea. But it's really going to depend. I think she's got a perfect setup going into merge. I would hate to see her fumble the ball so at this point, but there's a world where it happens.
The only world where I see her going out is if the vote is looking like Kenzie or Q, she decides to play the idol on them, and then they snipe her out as a surprise. But it would have to be a real big surprise, because even Tiffany, I think, is more self-aware in her positioning than Jem is, because Tiffany's gone through the tribal. She knows she's in the middle of these two people. It's just she hasn't gone to tribal with everyone else yet. But even then, I really think she's just going to be able to bond really well with everyone, which is why I'm more confident in her than her 2 other purple tribe mates. My number 3. This is the only other person that I'm 99% sure is going to make it out of this episode alive, because not only do they have an extra vote, but I feel like if this person was going to be a pre-juror, I feel like they would have Banu'd us and given us so much of this person, but they're really sporadically putting them through, and that's Tevin. I think Tevin is getting a nice sporadic edit to where I think, I can't see him being the merge boot. If he was going to be the merge boot, they would have given him a big pop this week. And Nami didn't really get a lot. And even if Nami is one of the Namis goes home, I think it's going to be one of the people who's constantly cycled around as a threat. So I think Tevin's going to be okay. Also because he's a social butterfly, and I think this is a good chance at the merge where the social butterflies thrive. Unless you're Caleb, he could get Caleb'd, but I really do think there's other Caleb's in this group.
He's my number 3 as well, and it's really, I don't think that there's an end in sight for him just yet.
Mhm.
Now we could be both wrong, and they could like really hyperload some Tevin in this episode. I don't think
Mhm.
so, though. Based on that preview alone, I think that Tevin actually is one of the only people who won't have his name out in people's mouths. He might be like a last minute sort of like, hey, we can't get an agreement on anyone that we've said so far. Why don't we just take out Tevin?
Yeah. My only worry is that they might all look at Nami as, oh, you're 5 people who haven't ever gone to tribal. Let's try to snipe one of you.
Right.
But I really do think Tevin and Hunter have people they can throw under the bus if that is the case. Whereas like last year, I think Emily was kind of like, I can't really help Caleb anymore. And she kind of let him go. And that was such a weird scenario because it was 2 of them. And here, the lowest majority players, the Yanus, I feel like the Yanus are going to
Right.
be able to make it through this one. But I don't know who the common boot is going to be. Who's your number 4?
At 4, I have Charlie. I think Charlie actually is probably in the better position of the people who are still left and remaining from that tribe. He voted correctly. He didn't make any huge, big, like sudden movement. He was not in the spotlight at all while all the kind of like drama and everything was going down. In fact, he was one of the people who actually was like, I don't really just want to do what Jem says. And I think that that's a really fantastic position to be in. He does not have the heat on him. That's going to be Maria. They have Tim to kind of fall back on as someone to kind of like push out the door if that tribe really wants to try and rally votes and numbers behind someone. Again, in terms of like voting incorrectly, Mariah voted incorrectly. So they have put her on the outs. The only person who's still pretty well connected with Mariah is Maria. So I think that Charlie probably, and I just don't see a world where Charlie doesn't kind of like link up with Ben and Tev, or not Ben, with like Hunter and Tevin and really like thrive with them. So I don't think that they're going to look to get rid of him anytime soon.
Cool. At 4, and I can't believe I have her this high, but I really think it's going to be one of those things where now that she's at the merge, why the hell would you waste a vote on her? And that's Liz, because I really do think Liz is being a little bit more palatable to us, the viewer, because I think that the audience needs to be ready for a lot of Liz, because I really just think, why get rid of her right now when you have someone with so much money claiming that she has so much money and bragging that she has so much money? I'm bringing her to the end. And I had a talk with my whole family, grandparents included, at Easter dinner about this. But I was like, how is Liz going to go out before the final tribal council? And everyone's saying, because she's annoying everyone. And I'm like, yes, but if I'm a smart player and someone's annoying everyone, I'm bringing them to the end. And it's not in the way that Venus is, where she's not doing anything actively. She's annoying people because she's almost too closed off, whereas Liz is annoying people because she's too open. And if I was sitting with someone with Liz, I would take him all the way to the end, or her all the way to the end. I really think Liz, but I could be wrong. And this could be, the thing is, Liz does fit the prototype of what we've been seeing as the merge boot in the new era. The problem is, I just can't see any of them being stupid enough to let her go this early. And maybe there's a redemption arc in her and she's going to surprise everyone and actually win at the end, almost like a Gabler. She feels like a Gabler if Gabler was a 0 vote finalist, if that makes sense.
Yes. No, I agree with you. I have her a little bit lower, just as like a safety sort of idea. Again, these last 2 safety rankings have really just kind of been shots in the dark. Because I don't know. I really don't know where to place people. So at number, what are we at? Number 5?
Yep.
Number 5, I have Ben.
Me too.
It's so hard because I just think that like once your name is out there, it's always a lot more dangerous because you just become an easy thing for people to kind of throw out. The thing is, I think Ben kind of gets past a lot of the same things in kind of the same realm that Charlie does. The only reason Charlie is higher is because Ben didn't have a vote, and Charlie, he's going to have to answer for that because he lied about it. But again, I think that people would probably rather keep Ben safe than anybody else on that tribe right now because Ben's name is the one that came up. And I think that with a whole group of new people, he's going to be able to ingratiate himself a lot easier. And he's already sort of kind of done that, right? Where like Banu kind of like talked.
Banu and Liz liked him, yeah,
they liked him a lot. So I think he'll be able to kind of come back to a Liz, and not that Liz really has anybody, but he's proved enough that he can like position himself. I think he's really going to take advantage of this whole like Soda versus Hunter scenario. And I think he's going to probably look to be aligned with both of them and then kind of go off with whoever has the majority in that, which is probably going to be Hunter.
I think the thing with Ben is he's never driving the strategy. He's never the one saying who's going to go home. He's always the one that people want to go to. So much so to where that scene where Jem and him are talking and he has the hammer and she has the machete. It's so funny that they're both like holding these murderous weapons and Jem's like, tell me who you're voting for and I'll vote your way. And he's like, I'm just chilling, man. And she's like, no, like, tell me what you like. She's very coming on very strong, and he's just standing there with a hammer, and she's got the machete. I thought that was funny, but it really is one of those things where I think everyone's just coming up to Ben, being like, "Who you voting?" He'll be like, "I'll vote whoever." Like, he's so chill, which is why I'm a little worried if he makes it to the end. Is he going to have a case? But the thing is, I feel like this season, based on the negativity we've gotten, and not that we've gotten like bad negativity, like these people are awful people, but we've gotten a lot about how like Venus doesn't feel like she fits in, and everyone kind of hates Venus, and now Soda's annoying everyone, and Banu annoyed everyone. Like, it's almost like everyone's kind of pissed off in this season. And I really do think this could be one of those seasons where it's like, why so-and-so lost rather than why so-and-so won. Kind of like 43, how it was like, how Jesse, Carla, and Cassidy lost.
Cassidy lost rather than Gabler actually won.
It's kind of like the Russell Hantz thing of Survivor 19, where it's like Russell lost that game. Natalie didn't win it. Russell lost. Same as Rob and Amber. Amber didn't win. Rob lost. And I think that's the thing is like, this could be a season where everyone's like saying, this is how Tevin lost the game, or this is how Q or Kenzie or Tiffany lost the game. This is how Venus lost the game. And who I think they could lose to at the end would be Ben. Like, I think Ben is the one who, like, at the end, maybe doesn't have the best move or the best tribal council, but people are like, I like you. Off. Yeah, he's almost like Gabler if Gabler had a better social game.
At number six, I have Kenzie. She's like a very big middle ground for me. I think that Kenzie will have probably less of a target on her at this point, just because she's not the person who's going to be winning the challenges. And again, sort of in that realm where, like, if Hunter or Q are not winning the challenges, they should be in the spotlight. These people seem smart enough to kind of think that way. I think that Kenzie probably also, like, I do think that Tiffany probably chooses Kenzie over Q eventually. That's just my thought process. I think that Tiffany is going to end up choosing Kenzie over Q at some point. It's just a matter of when. I don't think she's this merge boot. I think if anything, she's probably a second or third merge boot. Like, we kind of see her like fizzle out a little bit early, but I think that she's sticking around for a little bit longer.
Yeah. What's fun about Kenzie, Q, and Tiffany is that I feel like sometimes it's like, if you're like, Reba was Reba strong going into the merge. It was hard to separate that core, and D ended up winning with Austin, Drew, and Julie all in the end game with her. The difference is, like, remember 44, it was, you know, everyone was going at one another, so the Tika 3 were able to skate by. Who's going after one another? Sega just split up because they showed they were not a vibe and tribe going after Jem. Nami hates each other. This could be another Tika 3 where we just see these three slip through, and Carly is sharing her Kenzie love. We love Carly. We love Kenzie. But it's one of those things where I could see this group of three sailing through. I think the difference last year is that no one was saying we need Emily and Caleb. It was more, let's get Emily, let's toss out Caleb. Like, I think it was just such a different vibe. And because there was a tribe swap. But here, I think really that 3 could be really useful to other people, because I don't think it's clearly green versus orange fighting over the purples. I think it's going to be green going against green, orange going against orange, and the purple just sliding their way through. I do have Kenzie lower, though, only because she does have that Caleb thing of, like, she's very clearly very charismatic, and they could just want to get rid of it early. But I agree with you. Just based on the edit, I think she's going far. Number 6, I have Maria. I think she's in a good position. I don't think I think her winning equity is slipping a bit, just because this past episode was very much about Charlie getting his way and Maria having to cater to Charlie rather than vice versa. But we did see an interesting extra vote play, which we talked about. So I'm interested to see where that goes with Maria. And then I have Charlie at 7 for all the reasons we said. I think the two of them are safe. The only thing I'm worried about is the fact that Tim said Maria was his number 1. If this Onion Alliance, Cookout Alliance thing happens, I could see a world where they're all like, well, in order to get Maria here, we got to get out Charlie. And that's my biggest fear. But I do think Maria would find enough people to get Charlie safe. Like, I think Maria would protect Charlie, but I could see a world where they're all like, in order to get Maria, we have to get Charlie out. And that's the only reason I have Charlie below Maria and below Ben, is because I think Charlie could be the surprise merge boot that we're all like, oh shit. But I think that could come in a few episodes rather than right now. Who's your number 7?
I'm going to use 7 and 8 because 7 is Liz and 8 is Maria. I put Maria a little bit lower than I've ever had her before, but
your winner pick,
because I mean, like, I love her. I want her around. I do think her winner equity is slipping a tiny little bit, which makes me a little nervous. But I think she bounces back from this. If she is able to bounce back and get a really, really good edit this episode, I think that there's still a lot of hope for her. It's just a matter of, does it happen? Does she really navigate her way through it? And if she does navigate her way through it, kind of like what's next? And Liz was, again, kind of like the fall. They mention, we get a little bit of mention of Liz in the preview. I do think that that's kind of big.
That's right. Yeah, because
like,
what do they say? It's like Liz hates
stirring up
soda
shit.
or something. Yeah.
Liz stirring up shit. Or Liz is, I can tell you because I literally have it open in front of me. Where to go? That's Venus is saying all kinds of shit. From Q, Liz hates soda. It's a mess.
Yeah,
so,
I think Nami's gonna implode on themselves this episode. Maybe I should have had Liz lower.
It's because they never had to go. If you notice, the only Nami that is not so low is Hunter, and it's because I think Hunter. And that is only because I think Hunter is driving the bus. Yeah. I think he's the one who's really in charge of it. Yeah, you're realizing everything's a little bit.
Well, the thing is, like, all pre-merge, it was Banu and Liz. Banu and Liz were always at the bottom. And now I'm finally putting Liz at 4, and now this might be the week they snipe her out.
Hey, listen, man, it might pay off for you. I might be 100% wrong.
Even then, I would still be within 1 point of you. You'd still be beating me by a point. My number 8. We haven't said him yet, is Tim. I think Tim had a good bounce back this week. Yeah. I think Tim showed that he has numbers on his side. I think Ben really likes Tim. I think Charlie likes Tim. And Tim said Maria's his number 1. So I think it could be one of those things where he thinks Maria's more with him than she actually is. But the thing is, if Maria knows that Tim knows that she's close to him, Maria's not going to cut him loose now. And the thing is, if everyone thinks he has the idol because of Jem, good. That means they're not going to go after him because they're worried it's going to bounce back. Yeah. And I really think that could be an interesting thing. We could see him be like Xander and just go to the end because everyone knows he has an idol, only for him to be at the end and be like, I didn't have an idol, and then get 0 votes. Like, I really think Tim could be someone we see at the finale who are all like, wait, how is Tim here? But I really think there's always one person in every finale who's very under-edited. Like Lauren from 44, I think of. I guess there wasn't anyone last season. Everyone was pretty well edited, but it was 90-minute episodes. But I think Tim is someone who I think could be sneaky and could go further than people expect. And I think he got a good push this episode. He had the episode title. I mean, he did say Tiki Man before he was talking about how he did have the episode. The only worry is that if he really still can't poop in a few days, he might get medevaced. But I don't want to put that out there. Who's your number 9?
At number 9, I'm keeping her where I had her. My girl Venus.
Yes. I love how much confidence you have in my girl.
Listen, man. I'm sticking to my word. I'm not. It would have been very easy to put Venus down way at the bottom because she's literally being highlighted in that preview. But I really think the fact that she has bounced back so well, and because everyone on that tribe is really looking at like Liz, Soda, like I think Venus is a red herring. She has been a red herring all season. I do think we're seeing some good editing. Like she has bounced back from the random thing. I think it's going to be very easy for people to try and use her as a scapegoat. And I think that is going to implode, in fact, on the people who are below her for me right now. I think actually not for one of them. Because I have Tim at 10, and that is really just because I do think it's one of those things. I think Tim had a good bounce back. They think he has the idol. I think he's giving off very much a 0 vote finalist vibe right now. It's just a matter of how he plays through everything going forward. But I don't really know what he could do to kind of like bounce back and be much of a winner. But I think that he's an easy vote if they want it to happen. He's a great 0 vote finalist to drag to the end.
So I have a very clear 0 vote finalist. You do too. So maybe the key for a unanimous win here is for them to take Liz and Tim to the end.
That's true.
Yeah, and who else has 3 letters in their name? Ben. I'm just saying. This episode, ever since Jem went home, because Jem was the person I was thinking was going to win this season based on a few episodes now. And I'm doing an episode tomorrow for my small bites where it's the top 10 Edgic blindsides where the edit was completely overturned. I really just think Jem is one of those people I was so all in on. So now that she's gone, I'm kind of Kenzie was my preseason winner pick, but realistically, I think she's going to be too big a target at the end. But I think I mean, I want to root for Venus, but I think right now I might be putting my eggs in Ben's basket because I feel good about Ben, but I don't know.
Very Easter of you.
What was that?
It's a very Easter of you.
Why?
Eggs in a basket?
Oh yes, thank you. I thought you were talking about Ben like rising again, like
No.
Jesus or something. No good segue, but Q is my number 9 and Kenzie's my number 10. Those two are just such wild cards because I'm like, Q is putting together this alliance. It could very well backfire if Tim is like, "Yo, Maria, we're doing this alliance," and Hunter's like, "Yo, Tevin, we're doing this alliance," and then Tevin and Maria go, "No, we're not,"
No, we're
and they're
not.
all just like, "Fuck you, Q," and they get rid of Q. I
Yeah,
think
they're
that could
like, we're
happen.
actually not doing this alliance.
But I feel like Q is just such a big character. I can't see him going out right now. And same with Kenzie. I really just think it's a matter of reading the edit where I do think Q and Kenzie are going to be here a little longer. But the worry for me is that Kenzie has the Caleb syndrome of everyone's just going to look at her and be like, how do we let this girl go further? But the good thing is Tiffany does have an idol. So I think if Q or Kenzie are to be targeted, I do think there's a good chance Tiffany will come to save them, or at least try to get the vote away from them. So Q is my 9. Kenzie's my 10. Who is your 11? Zach?
My 11.
We have the same bottom 3. Oh, no, we don't. You have Venus higher. And
I
you
do have
Q
Venus
lower.
higher.
Okay, who's your 11?
My 11 is Mariah.
My 11 is Mariah.
Because once again, what is Mariah doing? I really she continues to be my person that I feel like I know nothing about. I have nothing from the edit from her. I have no reason to believe that she has any reason to be here. And again, I said it last week. That's the Heather of 41. I get it. But I really just she's voted incorrectly on the one vote her tribe has had literally all season, especially right before the merge. I mean, it's just not a good look. She's either got to get pulled in with a group of people or she is sitting duck central.
Of all the people to be pushed on the outside, I think she's the best one who's not going to take it as personally. I really think Mariah would almost have a confessional to us and be like, "What the fuck, guys?" And then she's like, "All right, I got to just lay low," because I think that's Mariah's biggest superpower is that no one's threatened by her, and that is a superpower because I think she's purposely lowering her threat level because she's very smart. She's making herself almost come across a little doofier than she actually is. So I really do think Mariah is going to be someone we see a lot longer. But right now, in terms of positioning in the game, she's got to be lower. She's in my 11 as well, just because there's no way that you could put someone who's literally the only person to vote in the minority of the last vote before the merge on the bottom, because she could very well just be an easy boot. I'll finish mine just because I want to save the suspense. I'm not putting her in the last spot. I can't do that to my point.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you gonna do it?
I'm putting Venus at 12 only because I do think she just fits that archetype of merge boot so much. But the thing is, we've gotten so much about how when she gets to the merge, she's going to turn on the Namis and stir some shit up. And I just feel like that could happen and that could help her. The only worry is that if it happens and it backfires, at least she's going to go out guns blazing, but I can't in my good conscience put her at 13. I'm kind of on the same wavelength you were on in a few episodes ago, where if she survives this vote and isn't really as big a target,
put her up higher, but
I might put her at number 1 next week. You know what? I'm going to say it right now. If Venus survives this episode, I'm putting her at 1 next week.
Okay.
That might be a gift for you, but I really do think if she can survive, because this is a week where everyone just kind of finds a common enemy. They did it with Caleb last year, and luckily his shot in the dark worked. It wasn't even that he had an idol. It was literally a shot in the dark. It was complete chance. It wasn't strategic at all, but it's one of those things where they all just found a common enemy. They're like, he's the strongest guy. We got to go for him. Here, she could be a very common enemy type person, but if you're smart, and I like to believe some of these people are, why are you going to go after the common denominator? Caleb is at least a big threat. Venus, I don't think at this rate, I don't see how many people are going to vote for her at the end unless she has that resume. Because I think right now, of the people you're looking at, I even think she's more of a 0 vote finalist than Tim in everyone else's eyes. I think they would see Tim and still be threatened by Tim and the fact that he could give a good speech at the end. But I think everyone else is thinking Liz and Venus, we got to keep around because they're going to be easy beats at the end. And I don't think that's the case with Venus. I think that's the case with Liz. But if they think Venus is an easy beat at the end, they should take her along. They should not try to get her out now. My only worry is that everyone's first impression of Venus is that she's threatening, and I'm just very worried for her. And then at 13, I do have Soda, just because I do think they've set it up enough for her to be the target. If Nami goes, I think enough people have been willing to cut her. And if Hunter is going to emerge as this contender, as this number 1 dog with the idol and with these challenges, and the fact that he said he wants Soda out so he can be closer to Tevin, it could be very much as easy as Hunter trying to drive this 6-person alliance to take out Soda. That's why I have a Soda at 13. But Zach, I'll let you rattle it off before I say my last piece on Soda.
So Dylan, I thought we might have the same final or the same bottom.
Okay.
Against my better judgment.
Oh gosh,
I have
okay.
put Soda at 12 and I put Q at 13 because I just
Interesting.
have this feeling that this plan is going to backfire.
Mhm.
Um, and again, I don't have anything else to add, like nothing new. I just really have this feeling that there is a world where Q's plan backfires, things kind of go haywire. There's all of this, like, shit stirring and whatnot. And then suddenly Q is fully blindsided and ends up the merge boot, sort of same in a similar vein to what they wanted for Caleb, but instead of it actually instead of Q being smart and playing his shot in the dark, he gets cocky. He thinks that things are going to go perfectly his way, and outwalks Q.
Hey, it's a bold pick, and honestly, I would not be surprised if that happens,
Right?
but it would make for, I think, better TV than Soda, only because I think right now we're led to believe Soda is on the bottom of that tribe after all. And I think Q would be a more interesting merge boot because it would shake up the
Yeah.
dynamics. But yeah, I think Soda. It
I'm not
sucks
saying
'cause-
it's the smart choice.
no,
I'm
I know.
saying it's the bold choice.
Yeah,
For
it's just
sure.
there's something about Jem going home that pissed me off, but also was so exciting because it was like such a blindside of the edit to where I hope the next few boots are these big players that we think are going to be saved. Like I would love in a perfect world if like Charlie, Maria, Hunter, and Tiffany are the next 4 boots, and we're left with this ragtag team of like Liz.
Hold up. Your winner
No, no,
pick is still here. So
no, I know, but my point is like I think it would be a much more interesting season if we get kind of
I
the
agree.
less predictable path. But and last year I think we both kind of called that D was getting a winner's edit pretty early. I think 44 we called it with Jam. I think a Gabler was the opposite where we had no idea he was going to win, but I feel like it was so unsatisfying because we really wanted Cassidy. I just hope we get an unpredictable finish here. That's my hope. And one last thing I want to note on a more serious note, I know there's a lot of negativity on the Twitter sphere toward first towards Soda for a lot of really terrible like body shaming shit that caused Soda to delete her social media and stuff. So Soda happens to see this or hope it happens to get a whiff of this. Like we support you, Soda, and as much as like we love rooting for certain people, and maybe yes, my queen Venus is the one who might be targeting you. Venus has even come to speak out about it and say that we should support Soda at least as a person. Like we can root against these people in the game, but they are people, and very rarely are they bad people. We have gotten our few, child pornography and rape and whatever, like a Kentucky Republican who wanted to make a law about cousins getting married or whatever. We have had those, but we've also had some really great people play this game. And regardless of who you're rooting for, rooting against, please be kind out there. And also, a lot of Maria hate has been happening this week because of the getting out Jem. And I know there is a now recurring theme of a lot of Asian women or Asian people going out pre-merge. And this season we saw Banu, Jess, and Jem go home, all Asian people. So it is tough. And I know that is a problem out there, but I don't think we have to blame Maria for casting an extra vote and flipping on Jem. Like it is her game and she's playing it, and maybe it'll come back to be a good thing that she got out Jem, because maybe Jem was the reason Maria was not going to get the win. We don't know, but Maria does not deserve any hate for that. It is game. And I just want to say, out there, if anyone watching this supports any hate speech toward these contestants, don't support us, because we're not there for that. We want to be a place where eventually we can have Survivor contestants on here to talk about their games and to lift them up, even if they have a pretty shitty gameplay or whatever. Because I'll admit, when I go on that show someday, I know I'm going to play poorly at times, and I just hope that people have the same grace that I hope I give everyone else.
Sure.
Zach has clearly given everyone else. So please be kind out there if you're talking about anyone. Except you can give Probst shit for making the days not 39 days anymore. That's the only thing you can do. And don't give him too much shit. Don't be that mean. Still, Jeff is still the best host around, best host ever. But really seriously, true. That's all. That's a joke. If it's 26 days forever, that's the least of our concerns.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
At the very least.
Please be kind out there. I know it's late. Zach, do you have anything else to say?
No, I mean, I think it's a pretty good season. I know that people have had kind of a weird thought, feeling, and like their opinions on it. I know that a lot of people did not like just that we really just lost the entire Yanu tribe, kind of one right after,
and then it was so Banu dominant too, which is a fair criticism. The edit was very overwhelmingly Banu.
But the thing is, I think on the whole, like the fact that we are 5 episodes in and we got a huge blindside right off the bat, like that's pretty. If the rest of the season is as interesting as this last episode was, then I think we're in for a really, really great season. My plea to everyone is don't base it off of the first 4 episodes. That's never fun. How are you going to base an entire season off of the first 4 episodes?
Yeah, because look at 41. The first 4 episodes were great, and then it ended up being not so great. It could have the reverse, effect. Where after JD went out, everyone was like, "The season's not that good." But it could have the opposite effect where Zach's right. Sure. It could have a shitty first 4 episodes, and then it end up being one of the best seasons ever. We don't know, and maybe it is going to be a bad season. But either way, these players, they're doing their best, and I hope Venus wins. But I think it's going to be Ben. That's what I'm locking in right now.
You deserve it. You deserve it. Look at me, Maria.
Yeah, I mean, our winner picks have both. Zach, our winner picks have both made the merge. How exciting is that? I feel like
that hasn't happened. I don't think in a very long time.
No, because I had Claire in 43. She didn't make the merge. Who did we have last, or 44? Who do we have in 45? Do you remember? Was it Austin? No, not Austin.
No, I would have to look back. You probably have the sound bites a lot faster than I do.
You picked Hannah. No, I'm kidding. You didn't pick Hannah. You picked Jake and I picked Kelly. Okay, so we did well.
Okay, we did well, but only one of them did well enough to get to final tribal. I'm hoping that they are both. If Venus survives this week and Maria survives this week, they are both in a good position that we could potentially see both of our winner picks at final tribal.
Yeah, a 43, I think we did pretty well, right? Did you have Ellie as your winner pick? I had Owen as my winner pick.
No, I had someone different as my winner pick going into the season, and I think I switched it to Ellie.
Yeah.
I have to look at who was there.
Carla, maybe?
No, I think
you definitely didn't have Cassie because you were low.
I think I might have had Cody?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. 43 was weird. And then 42, we both... Who did I pick for 42?
Yeah, I think
I picked High. I picked Tori for 42. That was crazy. You had Zach Wartenberger. So yeah, we've had a bad track record, but
Cody, what Zach Wartenberger was my winner pick. That might be my lowest.
We're back though, baby. We're back. And I'm so excited both our winner picks made the merge, and it'll be exciting either way. Okay. Zach, really quickly, who's winning the season now though? Is it still Maria?
Who's winning the season?
Yeah, if you had to say right now, who's your now merge winner pick? So we had our preseason winner picks and now our merge winner picks. I'm going with Ben, but I'm still rooting for Kenzie because pre-merge, and Venus because she's my queen.
I'm inclined to say like Hunter or Charlie.
Yeah, 2 good picks.
I think Charlie right now is probably the least obvious pick.
Yeah.
Hunter is probably the most obvious pick.
Yeah, well, look at this. Ready? You have both Hunter and Charlie, and I have both Venus and Ben. So we'll be just rooting for our fantasy team.
We'll just be really rooting for our fantasy team. And
we're really just rooting for our fantasy teams, even though
downfall. Yeah, we'll be rooting against Austin's downfall.
Listen, the next 4 boots have to be Soda, Liz, Maria, and Tiff in that order.
That's fine.
All right, guys. Have a good night. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye.